Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Economic fallout from Sangster International runway closure to be known soon. Education Ministry reporting a decline in teacher resignation for January to September. And later in sports, Marlon Samuels charged by International Cricket Council for breaching anti-corruption code. I'm Shane Masters, and here are the details. The country will soon get an update on the economic fallout from last Thursday's temporary closure of the runway at the Sangster International Airport. The closure resulted in several flights being either cancelled or diverted. Prince Moore reports.
Hundreds of travelers were left stranded after they were informed that their flights had either been delayed or cancelled. Minister of Transport Darrell Vaz says the Tourism Ministry is gathering data on the economic fallout.
Obviously, because the majority of the passengers are tourists, and of course the hotels are involved because obviously throughout the whole schedule, persons had to try and check back into hotels. There were no hotel rooms. I mean, it goes, once that happens, it is just, everything goes awry. So, I'm depending on Minister Bartlett, and he has indicated to me yesterday that he will have that information in short order.
Mr. Vaz says the Operation Safety Audit and Assessment being conducted at the Sangster International Airport will determine who is to be held responsible for the activities which resulted in last Thursday's temporary closure of the runway. A preliminary report was provided to the Minister on the incident following a meeting on Monday with stakeholders in the aviation and tourism industries. However, he says that report did not provide in-depth information about who is to take responsibility.
The reports that I have gotten have only told me what was the plan. It has not gone to the point of where, who is responsible, who signed off, and who is responsible for allowing the markings to match the navigational switchover to be done on the night of the 9th for opening of the runway the morning of the 10th. So basically what you'll be doing, Dion, is you'll be working through the night while the airport is closed. And therefore, any emergency would not have a response because it's the middle of the night. So in this case, there was an issue with a breakdown of equipment that the contractor was using. And then you had weather that prevented you from doing the marking. So you actually had two circumstances that should have been planned for.
He has since given directives for the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority and Airports Authority of Jamaica to work with an independent team to undertake the audit. A report is to be submitted on August 31. Mr. Vaz, who was speaking on Radio Jamaica's Beyond the Headlines, says the report will indicate what went wrong.
The audit and assessment for the operations and safety will tell me definitively with documentary evidence by the 31st of August. And of course, obviously, based on the incident and the fallout and the reputational damage, and of course, all that happened with the passengers and the airlines, etc., then obviously the concessionaire has other things that he has to take into consideration as well. Now, I have not gotten a report from the contractor, which is what I asked for as well to be included in this audit and assessment, because the bottom line is the contractor would play a special role in terms of information from his standpoint in relation to what transpired.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, JHTA, says it's waiting with bated breath for the report into why the runway at the Sangster International Airport was shuttered.
I await the response to the report, that will determine whose fault it was and why it happened, that we can make sure it never happens again, because as a destination, we want to make sure that this never happens again.
As to the monetary loss?
I think that is a part of the report as well, where, they're going to put a value now on what it costs to put the guests up, what it costs to transport them, what it costs for canceled flights. So that is all a report. And then at the end of the day, who will pay that cost, whether it is MBJ, whether it is the contractors, whoever is at fault. So I guess that report will determine all of those factors.
The Education Ministry is reporting a decline in the number of teachers that have resigned for this year. Education Minister Favola Williams says 427 teachers tendered their resignation between January and September.
That is approximately 1.7% of the total teachers in the public system. When we compare that against a similar period last year, which would be January 2022 to September 2022, 1,538 teachers resigned, representing approximately 6.2% of the sector. We're in a much better place this year relative to last year regarding resignations.
But Mrs. Williams says measures have been put in place similar to last year to combat the negative effects of the resignations on classrooms.
School boards are empowered to take early recruitment decisions, meaning they don't have to wait on the ministry. Pre-approval has been granted for the replacement of teachers in clear vacancies and those in temporary posts funded by the Ministry of Education and Youth.
Schools also have the authority to engage teachers who are on approved leave or extend the services of teachers scheduled to retire. However, under the latter, the Education Minister says special approval must be sought with justification before the teacher is retained. In the meantime, Mrs. Williams is imploring schools to take advantage of specialist teachers that graduated from tertiary institutions recently. She noted that 88 such teachers have graduated from teachers' colleges and are bonded to the ministry for 5 years.
16 teachers of physics and chemistry. We recommend that our schools or our boards contact the various teachers' colleges in order to gain access to these special scholarship students. We also have an arrangement with UWI, and that program is called Build Out or Science Teachers Program or Boost. 10 new graduates specializing in mathematics and science will enter our system, and these teachers would be available.
Relief is coming for the island security guards. This as the Ministry of Labour and Social Security has ramped up efforts to ensure a smooth transition from independent contractors to employees. The details in this report.
And your government has been able to advocate and actually execute in ensuring that we protect the rights of our security guards.
Several private security guards have reportedly filed complaints to the Labour Ministry about improper treatment from employers. In response, Labour Minister Pernell Charles Jr. said his ministry has been conducting frequent inspections at security companies. The ministry has also conducted sensitization sessions with security companies to ensure full compliance with labour laws. To those who are uncooperative, however, the minister had this warning.
Having set now the platform to facilitate full compliance, any company found in breach of the requirements of the labour laws will be brought to books using the full extent of the law.
In the meantime, a meeting is to be held this Thursday with the ministry and the Jamaica Society for Industrial Security Guards to reaffirm the government's position to increase momentum for its establishment.
We are eager to advance these conversations, and it is our intention that the Joint Industrial Council will comprise representatives of security guards, employers, civil society, and key government stakeholders. Issues that will be up for discussion include the terms of reference of the Joint Industrial Council and priority issues to be addressed by the Council itself.
The minister said work is being done to ensure that all outstanding payments due to the security guards are settled. Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips, continues to blast the government for not doing enough to control the crime wave across the island. He says much more needs to be done, especially to protect the nation's children who have been under attack in recent months. His call comes following the gruesome murder of 15-year-old Jamelia Cole in Cotton Tree, Trelawney recently. Mr. Phillips, who was speaking at his constituency conference at the weekend, says the government has been spending millions in areas which are not beneficial at the moment. He's adamant that majority of the expenses should be focused on dealing with the country's crime problem.
We have a country that is in crisis. We have a government that is from day one is just PR. But this year alone we have lost over 10 children, majority of them under the age of 12, being murdered. And the only response that we can get is a day of mourning that the Governor General did on the 24th of June or July, June.
He says it's time for the government to put in tough measures to take back the country from the hands of the criminals. Mr. Phillips reasons billions have been spent on resources which have either stopped working or not used properly, such as the Jamaica Eye Network.
Even though we're 11% down on murders, my God, man, no compassion at all that we hear from the government. But the most them can do is cuss the Integrity Commission and try and save 2 or 3 civil servants. I beg the question, whose interest is it that he has?
It's now time for the Business Minute.
The country continues to record an increase in imports. Director General of the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Carol Coy, says for the January to April period, the country's import bill was over $2 billion, a 5.8% increase over the corresponding period.
This increase was due to higher imports of raw materials, intermediate goods, consumer goods, capital goods excluding motor cars, and transport equipment. However, fuel and lubricants declined by 9.7%, due mainly to a 38% decline in the imports of crude oil.
On the export side, there was an increase of 32% or $677.5 million.
This was primarily due to a 21.6% increase in the value of mineral fuels. Domestic exports, which accounted for 75.7% of total exports, grew by 16.3%, due to increased earnings from the mining and quarrying and agriculture industries.
Further afield, Target's sales fell for the first time in 6 years. The retailer says it saw a 5% drop in sales at stores last quarter and a 10% drop online. The decline comes as consumers pull back on spending. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Hal Shaneberg.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In this evening's health report, we look at chest pain.
We do a lot of patients with chest pain. The age group is a wide span. Patients who are young, and sometimes the pain may be related to disorder. We get patients who are middle-aged and older, and these patients more seriously because they are at a higher risk to get a more lethal diagnosis.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Manage health conditions you have, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. Exercise most days of the week. Limit the amount of alcohol you drink, and do not use tobacco products.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, the United Nations is renewing calls for a multinational police deployment force to be sent to Haiti to restore peace and security. In a report circulated to the 15-member Security Council, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres outlined 2 potential UN options, namely, providing logistical support to a multinational force and Haiti's police, or to strengthen a UN political mission already in Haiti. And North Korea's government has confirmed that U.S. soldier Travis King is in the country. They are alleging that he crossed into its territory last month because of inhumane treatment and racial discrimination in the army. Private King was reportedly seeking refuge in the Asian country. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Hal Shane Burke.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Ford will have your midday sports report.